Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking a look at the German Tier 8 destroyer, the Z-23. Now, let's actually quickly take a look at the teams before I start talking about the ship. We are playing on hotspots. We have a Ranger, 2 North Carolinas, Tirpitz, Nagato, a St. Louis, Edinburgh, Chapaya, Fletcher, Z-23, Akazuki, and a Mahan. On the enemy team, there is a Ranger, North Carolina, Tirpitz, Amagi, Hood, Neptune, Prince Eugen, Pensacola, Fletcher, Benson, a Hadakaze, and a Sims. And now I've heard that the Z-23 is the best out of the German destroyer line. That's what I've heard. And yes, we are pushing towards A, and we are located. So obviously, the enemy destroyer is going to know where at least someone is at. Now, like I said, I've heard that the Z-23 is probably one of the best there is. And as far as the stock version is concerned, I really am having trouble with this. This is probably my best game, and honestly, not that as far as high damaging. I've been playing it as best of my ability, but for whatever reason, I think it's really comes down to the guns. Torpedoes are pretty decent, 8.5 kilometer range, and we'll talk more about the guns once we get to port. So we are pushing into A. Did kind of try to position myself towards this island, see if I can at least start capping it, but obviously there is a enemy destroyer and we are detected because, well, there are certain destroyers that have much lower detection than I do, though the Z-23 does have fairly decent detection, 6.2 kilometers, so it's fairly decent for tier 8. Obviously not the worst, but obviously not the best. As you could tell, we were detected there. Hydroacoustics is up, and yes, of course, there are the incoming torpedoes, and more than likely it is probably, I'm guessing, the Sims. Actually, it's not the Sims. It's, let's actually quickly take a look. It is probably the Hadakaze, I'm gonna bet. So, it looks like our friendly team, the Ranger, actually took out the enemy Benson. So, good job there. Now, the very beginning of this battle, it's gonna be fairly low-key. To the point where I'm not really able to get into a good position where I can open up, and we are now getting hit by, I believe, possibly the Pensacola? I'm guessing that's, yeah, it's possibly the Pensacola. It's the last known ship down there. Or actually, it's probably the Harikaze. Because I actually haven't seen what the Harikaze's guns are like. So do drop another spread of torpedoes, hoping maybe we'll get lucky with a hit and are able to pull away. Yes, it is the Harikaze. So right now, A is essentially lost. There is a Neptune. Definitely don't want to deal with that. There's also a Pensacola, plus that Harikaze could easily outspot me. So I'm going to pull away and try to reposition to a better location. Our team is doing decent. They should capture C, no problem, and they just have. There's only the enemy Fletcher. The enemy team is lemming training over towards A. No one's really contesting B at the moment. There is Sims that was last seen, and I do open up, hoping I can get some damage with my guns against this Neptune. And my problem, I guess, I'm facing is her guns they're kind of lackluster. You can see 2 shell hits there, only got 990 points of damage, and that's against a Pensacola. Granted, Pensacola's bow armor is a little bit thicker, but even then, should have dealt a little bit more damage as far as kind of how it feels like with the Benson. Now, the Z-23 obviously can get bigger guns, which is actually really good. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the enemy CV did not care about me, did not pay attention to me, did nothing towards me. So I'm able to essentially do whatever I want. Now, I do drop torpedoes, and once again, the torpedoes are pretty decent. And the Sims, well, the Sims is going down. And as you do whenever you're a ship with torpedoes, you do something very drastic and desperate. Or better yet, last-ditch effort. Yep, there are those torpedoes incoming from the Sims. Barely dodged that. That was actually very, very close to actually taking one. Would have survived. The health on the stock Z-23 is not too bad. 14,700 overall, not too bad. Now, the enemy team, like I said, it's just lemming training towards A. Our team is finally pushing out of C, and B is essentially available for whoever would want it. So I'm going to quickly slip in, and this is probably, I guess, a great example to kind of point out that you get a lot of money and a lot of credits. Or sorry, I said the same thing twice. You get a lot of experience and a lot of money for capping. So it is in your best interest to cap, and it's obviously a good thing to do because it does help your team ensure a victory. Because obviously you're capping and you're taking the objective. Now here I actually kind of panic a little bit. I still have around 4 kilometers. Turpus is coming in. Looks like he's actually pulling away. And the AP... Well, it's still kind of... I don't know, it's kind of lackluster, because I have fired AP shells with the Moss before, and have got bigger damage rolls, and I am trying to aim for the superstructure slash the belt right where the secondary guns are. Our torpedoes are looking pretty nice. We do get fire, which is something you will not see very often with the Z-23. There we go. We got a kill. Got a torpedo and we got the kill. Very nice. So yes, the fire chance on the Z-23 130 millimeters, I believe the gun size are. They're very lackluster, to say the very least. They definitely don't have a very high fire chance, and that's even with flags. We'll take a look at the fire chance once we get back to port. But fires are not something you're going to see very often with German destroyers. Now, there is a enemy Amagi, and I'm still currently being located. And I wonder actually by who. But now we are actually detected, which must mean it is the enemy Fletcher. And for whatever reason, this Fletcher, you would assume that he would just open up. But he's probably concerned about that St. Louis. Gonna go ahead, turn away. Amagi is well aware of my positioning. Drop some torpedoes, one kind of at the indicator or slightly above the indicator, and one definitely far away from that indicator. And this Amagi does something rather interesting. Let's see if we can follow these torpedoes in. Yeah, Amagi knows I'm here, and it looks like he's actually starting to slow up a little bit. Yeah, boom, boom, and that should be 4 torpedoes right there and then. And that is effectively our biggest damage we will get in this game right now is from this Amagi. So this Amagi is currently, I believe, flooding to death right now. I believe he's also on fire. And I have pushed in towards A, and well, I just now realized there is a Neptune just north of me. And the enemy CV is bringing in dive bombers, and he just completely ignores me. So I'm going to actually kind of pull away. This Amagi is still flooding to death. Should go down here just momentarily. Yes, looks like the St. Louis got the killing shot, which is unfortunate because we actually did a huge amount of damage against that one Amagi. Now we are being, I believe, hydroed by that Neptune. So I'm gonna pull away once again. Just waiting on the full capture. Should be done just a moment. There we go. Got the second, or our first official base capture. We do have one assisted base capture, but it's probably a good idea just to kind of pull away. Now this Neptune on the enemy team is doing a pretty good job. He's actually kind of ensuring that they are kind of staying ahead. We have just also lost our St. Louis, and Ooh, there is a enemy Fletcher. He is, appears to be at least, going in towards A. Now, I had hoped to get some torpedoes off against maybe the hood, but it doesn't look like the hood's really pushing out. Looks like he's actually doing the whole backing up maneuver. So probably not going to get my torpedoes off, but instead I'm going to see if I can basically prevent this Fletcher from taking A. Now, good idea, because the Fletcher does have to go between this little torpedo alleyway, the channel between these two islands. Good idea is to get kind of close to this island here with this cliff. And yes, we are detected once again by the enemy CV, and he completely ignores us. So I'm going to go ahead, drop smoke, pop my hydro. My hydro does go out to 4.4 kilometers. So we're able to see this Fletcher, no problem. Fletcher really cannot maneuver away. Obviously, there is a big island next to him, and you can see the AP is actually doing pretty decent amount of damage. Obviously, once he turns in, we get a few ricochets there, and do switch over to high explosive. Another incapacitation. Now he's on fire. It looks like he's trying to get another spread of torpedoes down, and he is popping his smoke, because that makes sense since he's hydroed, and almost have the kill. And the friendly CV does something rather bit stupid. He used a full spread of dive bombers against a very low health Fletcher, and that kind of irked me. I was like, seriously? That was a kill that I could have easily secured, but instead the friendly CV takes the kill. Great job. Now the dive bombers have to make a trip all the way back to you, which, keep in mind, he's far on the east side, and yeah, that's just kind of a waste. So we are going to win this game. We have 3 caps, over 600, almost 700 now, more points than they, and there is a very low health Hakaym, who I think is just currently sitting still or something, and I am hoping to get this Ranger, but we are going to finish this game and win before I can even get within range. So that is unfortunate. 85,000, definitely not the highest damage that is possible with the Z-23, but it's the best game I've had so far with her. So we're going to take a look at the victory screen. So our team earned a victory. We brought home 252,601 silver, 4,334 XP, and 217 free XP. We did 85,937. Not a bad damage rating. 57 shell hits, 5 torpedo hits, 4 incapacitations, 1 kill, 2 fires, 4 flooding, and 1 base capture and 1 assisted base capture. We are on top of the team with a base XP of 1,864. And once again, the highest damage we dealt was against the Magi, and we didn't even get the kill, 53,618. Turpits, we did around 14,378. Did get the kill there. The Fletcher, we almost did 10,000. And the Pensacola, we did 6,540. Main battery guns did a astonishing 19,923. High explosive did a measly 4,208, but armor piercing, as you can see, definitely did a lot more, 15,715. So it really does obviously show the huge possibility of your armor piercing against broadside targets. The high explosive is very, very lackluster. Torpedoes did 42,935 points of damage. Our fires did around 2,734, and flooding did a whopping 20,345. So I'm actually quite satisfied with that flooding damage that we did. So we're gonna quickly jump into the port and take a look at the stock Z-23 stats. See you there. All right, everyone, welcome back to the port, and I have to say, at the moment, I'm not overly impressed with the Z-23. Yeah, I just don't know. It's probably due to the fact that she's stock, and that she will definitely, hopefully, be a little bit better once I actually have her upgraded. But at the moment, not overly impressed with the Z-23, and hopefully, whoever, actually I don't even remember who told me that the Z-23 is pretty good. Hopefully this will be the case once I actually have her fully upgraded. But right now let's take a look at the stats. Survivability 14,700. I do have my Benson, which we can kind of compare it to. So the Benson starting off, if we quickly take a look, has around 15,600. So the Z-23 starts off with less health than her, I guess, counterpart as far as USN is concerned. Health-wise, not the greatest. Definitely a little bit better than the Japanese, but definitely not the worst. So yeah, I have to say the health is slightly a concern at the moment. Actually, I'm kind of curious whether the health, hopefully, whether or not the health will improve once you get the upgrade. It should. I just don't know the exact number. We'll take a look at it in just a moment. The armor is 19 millimeters. I'm actually kind of curious what the Benson is, just the exact same. So health is not extravagant when you first have her. Artillery, you have 4 main guns, and there's actually one major difference between her and the Moss. The Z-23 does not have 2 guns in front. It only has 1. Your second gun is actually further in the back, so you do have to show a little bit more broadside just to get that second gun off. And then you have 2 far in the stern, so quite a bit different setup as far as what we're somewhat accustomed to as far as the Moss is concerned. They are 128 millimeters, not 130. That was a little high there. Reload time is 3.6 seconds. This is with basics firing training, so this is as fast as you can get the guns to fire. Turn time on the guns is a measly 17.1 seconds. It is quite astonishingly horrible. It is very noticeable when you try and get your guns turned around. USN destroyers definitely can beat you at that with no problem. Max dispersion is 83 meters. Still feels like it has that kind of wonky dispersion every now and then, but it's definitely a little bit tighter than the Moss was, that's for sure. Max HE damage is 1500, and I have yet to see that number with my HE. We'll have to say that. Chance of fire is 6.5%. Yeah, fires are not something very well known for the German destroyers. Max AP damage is 3,000. I have seen at least around that number. So AP is pretty decent. Though against the Tirpitz, yeah, there was definitely questionable on whether or not the damage wise. Range is 9.9 kilometers. Velocity from the guns is 830 meters per second. Kind of lofty. Definitely not as bad as the Benson is at 792. So you do have that higher velocity chance, which is always a good thing. So guns are okay. The AP is definitely the better choice, especially against broadside targets. Torpedo tubes. This is actually kind of where I had to say the Z-23 kind of fits more as far as a torpedo boat. Reload time is 90 seconds. Turn time on the torpedo tubes is 6 seconds. Max damage is 14,400 with a 8.5 kilometer range at 65 knots. So the torpedoes are very similar to what the Moss has, but you can upgrade the torpedoes later on. So torpedoes, it kind of feels like this is kind of where the German destroyers are really good at, is her torpedoes are pretty decent. That's at least kind of how I've been treating her. Now, I don't know if once we get the better guns, it might play a little bit different. We'll see. AA defense is nothing really much to talk about. You have 6 single 20 millimeters. Average damage is 22 with a 2 kilometer range, and then you have 2 dual 37 millimeters. Average range or average damage is 6 with a 3.5 kilometer range. Maneuverability, she's pretty decently speed, 37 knots. I believe Benson is just a little bit faster at 37 knots. Actually, I don't know about the Japanese destroyer. I've never actually played the new version. Let's quickly hop over to the Japanese destroyer. Where are you? because I'm actually kind of curious, because I know the Russian destroyers are probably one of the fastest. So the Kagero, 35 knots. So you're definitely not the slowest, but you're definitely not the quickest. So that's something to keep in mind. Turning circle radius is 680 meters, kind of big compared to the 570 at the Benson. And rudder shift time is a lousy 6.3 seconds. Once again, it's stock. This will improve once you have it upgraded. So that is something to keep in mind. Concealment is pretty decent. 6.2 kilometers. The Benson is 5.8. I believe the Kagero is going to beat you as well. I think the Kagero gets around 5.4 to 5.6, something like that. So not the stealthiest, but you can at least spot the Russian destroyers. That's something. But probably her major issue is the detectability range by air is 3.5. The Benson is 2.9, so you tend to be spotted by planes a little bit easier than any other destroyers, obviously, other than the Russian destroyers. Moving on to the modules. This is what you'll be expecting to upgrade. As you can see, I'm starting to put the experience in. I haven't actually tried any of these, so I'm still kind of learning on what to expect, and what I will recommend is what you should get later on. Torpedoes, once you get them upgraded, they will go 1 additional kilometer, and they'll also go a little bit faster at 66 knots. So kind of expecting to go for this first, and then, like I said, these Z-23 does get these bigger guns, 150 millimeters. They will reduce the reload time to 6.7 seconds. The turn time on the guns is going to be a lousy 20.7 seconds. But good thing is your HE damage is 2,200 and AP damage goes up to 3,700. But this also, let's quickly show this off. This also will increase your fire chance to 12.5%. So pretty good. Obviously, the main concern is the reload time, and also the turn time on the guns. Makes you almost as bad as some battleships and some cruisers, for that matter. So kind of expect that. You can go for the upgrade on the hull. This is probably what I would recommend next. This will increase your health to 19,500, so definitely a little bit better than the Benson, and also increase your AA as well as your rudder shift time to 4.5 seconds. So definitely go for the whole, and then I will probably get the range at last at 10.8 kilometers. I generally don't fire my guns all too often with the Z-23, at least out in the open. And if I'm obviously the only one, that's a terrible choice. But anyways, captain-wise, still kind of trying to figure out. Do have preventive maintenance. I do have expert marksman, last stand. I went for basics firing training, which benefits the smaller caliber guns, but obviously negates any bigger caliber guns. So that's unfortunate. As well as superintendent and then concealment expert. I'm currently debating whether or not to get torpedo armament expertise. This will obviously increase the reload time of your torpedoes by 10%, as well as possibly getting radio location. I think that would be nice. Now, depending on how the tier 9 and tier 10 destroyers are, I might opt for advanced firing training. Don't know at this moment. This captain is still a work in progress, and this is all a learning experience for me. But anyways, this is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully this kind of helps you kind of understand what to expect with German destroyers. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.